What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another ranking. With the release of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, the 8th film in the Conjuring franchise, it is time for me to give you guys an updated ranking for all 8 Conjuring universe films from worst to best. I did do this ranking when The Nun came out back in 2018, so I now need to update it with the release of The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Let me know down below in the comments what your ranking is for all the Conjuring universe films. If you haven't seen The Conjuring 3 yet, don't worry. List me the ones that you have seen, and let's talk about these films, because once again, this is my opinion. This isn't the right list. This is a subjective list. This is what I think. You're definitely going to be different than me. Let's talk about it in the comments below. So without further ado, let's get started. Did you expect any other movie? Of course, Annabelle is my least favorite of the Conjuring universe. I've only seen this film once. I didn't care to rewatch it leading into Conjuring 3. I just wasn't a fan of Annabelle Wallis in here. I do think she can be a good actress, but the storyline with introducing the Annabelle doll as a present just was not a fan of it. The jump scares were not scary at all, except for that one basement sequence. That's definitely the highlight of the first Annabelle movie. But overall, it's very forgettable, it's very lazily directed, terribly acted, terrible jump scares, and for sure, it's definitely my least favorite of the Conjuring universe. The Curse of La Llorona feels like the most different film in the Conjuring universe. It's definitely the black sheep of this universe. Nobody really knew what to expect going into this movie, and it doesn't feel a part of the Conjuring universe, but it is. It's pretty much the story of the La Llorona figure, this witch, and you find out the backstory in the first 5 minutes of the film. Linda Cardellini, I think she is a good actress. Lead in this film wasn't the best role for her. I think probably the most memorable character in here is Raymond Cruz. Tuco from Breaking Bad is in this movie. At the time I saw this movie, I hadn't seen Breaking Bad yet. And then when I watched Breaking Bad and saw he was in this movie, I'm like, Tuco is in this movie? That's awesome. Tight. But he couldn't save this movie. Linda Cardellini couldn't save this movie. It is so forgettable once again. And the director of this movie, Michael Chaves, did recently The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Overall, the La Llorona character's not even scary. The jump scares really aren't one done in here. And once again, it's the black sheep of this universe. It just doesn't feel like a Conjuring film, and it fails.
Lorraine?
The most recent film in the Conjuring universe, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. My review is out on the channel, guys. You can go check it out for in-depth thoughts. This was the first major press screening I've been to, and I was excited for the experience, but the film, however, was not the best, and it's definitely the worst of the 3 Conjuring films. James Wan did not return to direct this movie, and it shows. The acting, mostly from the Warrens, is great, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, but the other characters are so forgettable. This story had so much potential, but the jump scares were terribly done in here. Didn't live up to the potential. Superpowers are introduced and it's very confusing. I talked all about my issues with this movie, guys. You can go check it out in my review.
Hello.
The Nun was probably a very anticipated film for me. After I saw that teaser trailer, I was pretty interested and creeped out. Valak the Nun from The Conjuring 2 was probably the scariest thing I saw in that movie. Oh, you could have done so well with this movie, but again, it's not scary. Taissa Farmiga, the younger sister of Vera Farmiga, was the lead star of this film, and she just didn't have the charisma, the lovable charm that Vera brought. I was really underwhelmed by her. Damien Bashir again was in here. I didn't remember anything about his character. And Valak, you literally took probably the scariest thing from the Conjuring universe, and you didn't do anything with her. But I can say the cinematography is excellent in The Nun. Some brilliantly shot sequence, a lot of nighttime sequences that looked really well. Some good scares in here, but a lot of scares didn't live up to par. Why is this film so high up? It's not worse than the other ones I mentioned. There was some good tap potential and some good moments from certain characters in here. Annabelle Comes Home was actually not the worst thing possible, not the worst movie in the franchise. You do have the Warrens in here, that was a good addition to have in here, and the Annabelle doll. I like how this film was directed. It just feels like a very subtle movie, but then once the Annabelle scares come in here, it's really well done. You had Madison Iseman from the Jumanji films in here. You had McKenna Grace, who's kind of had some roles coming in. And the scares in here, the cinematography is actually well done. However, the story in here just did not mesh well. Even though the Warrens were involved in here, I kind of forgot their storyline overall. Again, this one had the potential to be as good as Annabelle Creation, but the direction it was going just didn't work for me. I was really let down with certain character moments in the final act. Annabelle Creation, probably like the only good to great prequel in the Conjuring universe. But Annabelle Creation was directed by David F. Sandberg, who's done Shazam, Lights Out, and he actually did a good job directing this film. I wish he was the one that kind of carried over the Conjuring universe. I think this is the most ambitious Conjuring universe film. We see the creation of Annabelle, we see things setting up for other sequels and spin-offs like The Nun, and I think the performances in here are actually well done by some child actors. Tytha Bateman and Lulu Wilson. Lulu Wilson actually is the scene stealer in here. I think she's great, and the Annabelle doll is actually the creepiest than any of the Annabelle films we've seen. And the certain scenes in here, especially this well sequence that's in the poster, I think is pretty well done, pretty suspenseful. The stair scene as well is pretty intense. Just a very intense film. I think David F. Sandberg did a good job directing it in here. Doesn't live up to what we got in the first two Conjuring films, but David F. Sandberg came very close, and I give him respect for doing Annabelle Creation. Number 2 is the first Conjuring, that James Wan brought us, The Conjuring, back in 2013. This is a very good horror film. I think it is fantastic, incredibly well directed by James Wan. The Warrens investigating the Perron family, helping them out. They move to this house in the middle of nowhere in the woods. I rewatched this film most recently, and the scares don't really hold up for me. It is pretty intense of a film, but I wanted to be more creeped out than I was. But I just think the performances in here are incredible, especially Ed and Lorraine Warren, Vera Farmiga, and Patrick Wilson. Of course, the iconic basement scene with the clap. Like, the clap game is probably the creepiest game I've seen in a while. But I just think James Wan is the MVP for this movie. His directing, his camera shots, the 180 take, one-take shots, and the finale, the way he shoots that whole sequence with the exorcism is really well done in here.
You're going to die.
The Conjuring 2, I think, really tackles a lot of the same elements the first Conjuring does. I just love the suspense in this film. I felt really uncomfortable. Pretty much the Warrens are going to London to help this family. This little girl is experiencing demonic activity. She's talking like an old man. Madison Wolfe gives one of the best child acted performances I've ever seen. Bill Wilkins, the old man in the house, the ghost, Valak the nun, like I mentioned, the Crooked Man. We still haven't got that Crooked Man film yet, but I remember this film made me felt uncomfortable. Just the hallway scene with Valak the nun. We're following Valak. We're going into another room. Valak goes in front of her painting. That painting. Now I have nightmares. The Conjuring 2 is fantastic. James Wan made an incredible horror sequel. And man, Conjuring 2, it's my personal favorite in the Conjuring universe. There you have it, guys. That is my ranking for all 8 Conjuring universe films, in my opinion. What did you guys think of my list? I'm sure you disagree with it. Let me know your ranking in the comments below, and let's talk about this universe of films. Guys, thank you so much for watching. All my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.